Okay. So let's share. Yeah, share some. Mhm. So we're not live yet, right?
Guess, hold on. Let me see. Oh, yes, we are. We
We are
are.
live. Okay.
It says stop. It just didn't.
All right. So, because we're live, one of what we really have to do is we have to get this part together, because as soon as we go live, we want to automatically attract people's attention to that degree so that they don't just leave. Um, and what we don't do, we are not actually we're not actually what is the word? We're not splicing. We're not splicing the video, so we just go live and then boom, we're on. But I think that we might be able to make clips, and so that might be something that we should consider in the future, doing that. It's just that it takes so much work as far as that's concerned. That's why I don't do it. I can do it. I know how to do it, but it's a lot of work. And the technology just continues to advance to the point that there's so many different programs that you can actually use to uh, to splice audio and video. And being a young uh, podcasting station, American Muslim 360, being young, because we come from an audio platform, and now our effort is to be a audio visual by being on YouTube. Because we're young at that, we've been doing it for about almost a year. We've been doing it since on the beginning of January. We still uh, have some way to go. But this is our first effort. This is our first year. Um, but in a year, so much has happened as far as technology is concerned that it's going so fast. So we have to make the decision how far that we want to go as far as in utilizing technology. Um, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a live introduction. That being said, with God's assistance, we begin. Okay. We are live right here on American Muslim 360. This here is Monday morning programming, and the name of the program is Living in the Upload Life. And basically, that's what the introduction was all about. Just talking about um, American Muslim 360 and what we are attempting to do here. Um, of course, we're talking about being Muslim on the full circle of being, especially as far as being African American Muslims and being that in the American experience. Uh, we have a unique circumstance being African American Muslims. I mean, it is the African American Muslim that stabilized being Muslim in America. You probably know that. I'll say, well, how'd you do that? Why you? There were Muslims here before you came. Yeah, you talking about you stabilized. Why? Because we had the firmness and we had the strength to move forward as a people. You know about the Honorable Master Elijah Muhammad. You don't know about the Honorable Master Elijah Muhammad? You don't know about Elijah Muhammad? They don't talk about him too much in American culture. They don't talk about him. But in Muslim culture, you need to know about Elijah Muhammad and his wife, Clara Muhammad, and what they did to establish. I'm not talking about, just the first Muslims to come and live in America. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about establishing an idea of being Muslim in American society. Now, it was different from the Islam that was being practiced overseas in Arabia and the other Muslim countries. It's different because you couldn't bring that over here to America. That wouldn't work just, straight up. You couldn't bring it like that. Why? Because you were dealing with a people that had been subjected to the American European culture or white culture as slaves. And because we were subjected to that degree, there was a lot of misconceptions in the head. So the first thing that had to be done is you had to clean up the people, these people. You had to get them out of the idea as far as religion is concerned. You had to get them out of the idea that the white man was God. The white man is God. Oh, come on. You joking. I'm not joking. The way that American culture had it, they had painted the picture. If you know your history, you know that. They had painted the picture of Jesus as being a white man. Brown hair, blue eyes, or brown eyes, long stringy hair, and black people in America worshiped every Sunday, worshiped this image of Jesus. So Islam from overseas couldn't clean that up. How you all, how Islam over there? Oh, well, there's only one God. Yeah, well, I understand that, but there had to be a a certain way that that had to be done because you're dealing with a people that were called Negroes. They were called colored people. Well, who are you? I'm a colored man. Where you from? I'm from Virginia. You from Virginia? What's your name? Well, my name is Richard Jones. Well, where's your forefathers from? Virginia. But you ask somebody else, what's your name? Well, my name is Scheinberg. Well, where's your family from? My family's from Germany. Well, where's your name? My name is Harry Wong. Oh, Harry Wong, where's your family from? Well, my family's from China. So we're dealing with a people who had been totally cut off. I hope that you know this as a history. So this was the first thing that had to be cleaned up in the African American's mind. And Elijah Muhammad was able to do it because he said that the white man is not God, that the black man is God. You God. You from Africa. You come from a people that built civilization. Who is the original man? The original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, owner, cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, father of civilization. That was the presentation that was made, that had to be made because the connection back to the original source had to be made. The African American had to know that or the Negro or the colored person had to know that he comes from Africa because the way that Africa was promoted in the United States in the early 1900s, in the early 1900s, is that Africa was a place where people walked around with bones in their nose, and they and they had They wore straw dresses. We didn't want to have anything to do with that. We dressed much better than them. They spoke like, they had a show that was called Tarzan, and it was a white man. I'm saying I'm saying it like this. It was a white man who was they called him king of the jungle. This is what they had on television programming. King of the Jungle. And we watched it. Tarzan. Oh, oh. And Tarzan, he could fight the animals in Africa. And he could talk to the natives of Africa. And the natives of Africa, they had spears and and bones in their nose and they dressed like savages. So that image had to be cleaned up. And the truth had to be told to the colored man or the Negro. And I remember, when Elijah Muhammad is the one who came up with the term black. Black. He said the black man is God and the white man is the devil. So today we use the term black as an identification for ourselves. You see that, right? Forward together. The black policy playbook, the black policy playbook. So we use it, and I'm sure that if you're part of American culture, you know that black is a term that has been inculcated into American culture. But that came from Elijah Muhammad. Did you know that? That's who it came from. And the Negro or the colored person embraced it because when I remember being called the colored person Negro, and I must have been in my early in the 50s. I was born in the 50s, and so in the early 60s, and they talking about the black man is God. You know what, mama? Don't call me black. I'm a colored person. I'm colored. This was the situation we was in. But Elijah Muhammad and Cloud Muhammad was adamant about pushing that Allah is God and Allah is God. Now, they had the wrong concept. They had the wrong concept because there was I mean, I don't want to go through the whole history and everything about it, but Elijah Muhammad started to set up temples or houses of worship all over the United States. The first one he set up was in Detroit, and then the second one was in uh, Chicago, and then three and four and five, and all the next thing you know, over a period of maybe about 10 years, there were temples or houses of worship under Elijah Muhammad that was all over the country in all of the major cities. And you know who helped him to do that? A person that you know. You've heard of this person. Malcolm X. But see, they don't want to call him Malcolm X. See, they call him El Hajj Malik Shabazz. El Hajj Malik Shabazz. But who was the teacher of El Hajj Malik Shabazz? Who was his teacher? His teacher was Elijah Muhammad. And the beautiful part about Malcolm X, El Hajj Malik Shabazz, is that he spoke so well. Oh, spoke so well. He was highly intellectual. He studied the dictionary. That's where he said he got it from. He did a stint in prison. And while he was in prison, you know what he would do on a daily basis. He had nothing to do in prison. So what he did is he studied the dictionary and he studied words and he learned to talk. And there was a natural intellect that he had. And because of this natural intellect that he was able to bring out the expression. He studied Elijah Muhammad. And the process of studying Elijah Muhammad, he became so profound. It was only Malcolm X Malcolm X was the premier speaker, but there were many speakers. Minister Louis Farrakhan was one of those speakers. Yeah. Minister Louis Farrakhan was one of those speakers also. Minister Louis Farrakhan speaks very well. Yes. Yes. There was uh, I, I, I can't find it anymore, but I made a song about it. But, well, I'm not going to. Well, the Nation of Islam one time was headed by a great leader, Elijah Muhammad. He made all arrangements. Family agreed when Elijah passed, Wallace will lead. Yes, he made all arrangements. Family agreed when Elijah passed, Wallace will lead. May Allah bless Elijah for the good work done. May Allah bless Wallace, Elijah's son, because when the leadership passed, the leadership was given to the son. There was no division. Backed by family and administration, they all agreed that he would lead the nation. He sat on the platform, calm, relaxed, by a young man named Jesse Jackson, Farrakhan, and others too. And they all said to the son, we back you. So all of the black leaders wound up backing Wallace D. Muhammad. The family backed him, and so the leaders backed him too. Uh, and so then we come to Sunni Islam, okay? The Sunni Islam. We come to, practice Islam the way that other people, other Muslims from across the water practice Islam. So that's basically how we got here. But um, the idea of, they used to call us the Black Muslims, the Black Muslim. That's what they called us, the Black Muslims. And they would make fun of us, they would make fun. I'm talking about, mainstream white media would make fun of us. We were dangerous. We were, an organization that had to be watched. Ooh, yeah. Anything that's different from anything that was different, that's, like, oh, you got to be watched. So, I didn't necessarily mean to get into it to this degree, because what I really want to talk to you about is, uh, again, this is American Muslim 360, and on 360 degrees of Islam. That's basically what it's talking about. American Muslim 363, 360 degrees of Islam. That's basically what it's talking about, what we're talking about. So when you see us, yes, Sister Martha, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam, and I apologize my error here with the first show being and the liability. I'm going to bring it up on the screen if that's okay with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if you don't mind reading, because my there we are. Okay. I, if you don't mind reading, because my wife may
You can read it. You
interrupt.
can read it.
Okay. Okay, I sound good. Okay. American Muslim 360's disclaimer. The content of the American Muslim 360 Broadcasting Network is intended for general information and community service purposes only. Views expressed by hosts or guests are their own and not necessarily the official position of American Muslim 360 or the parent corporation Community Wide Shore Conference, Inc. or its board of directors. Content is designed to provide specific and personal, is not, excuse me, is not designed to provide specific and personal medical, financial, legal, counseling, or other professional advice. Liability, explicit or implied, shall extend to hosts, AM 360, or CWSC. We encourage you to consult an advisor for your specific circumstances. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. So that is a disclaimer, and it say, well, why do you have to read the disclaimer? because there are people out there that look to destroy that what it's a to can it's called cancel culture. And they want to cancel culture, you know. So, oh, you said something. As a matter of fact, I just found out that Coco Gauff, who is a uh, African American tennis player, and she was lambasted, talked about in a very negative way on Fox News, and she bought a $50 million um, lawsuit against them for disparaging her character and disparaging her. She's going through the same thing that they did with Serena Williams and Venus Williams. They really went after them, called Serena Williams, like a man. It was horrible what they did. But this is what happens when like you become successful in in the American circumstance. They're going to look to cancel you because if you have the freedom to express yourself in American culture, and you're expressing yourself with a certain freedom, then the people that are in charge of things want to get control of you. They want to control. That's what they want, control. So that was written. That disclaimer was read in case somebody is trying to cancel. Okay, my show for American Muslim 360 because they don't like it. They don't like the fact that, what I just said about Elijah Muhammad, about, white people in America at that time. At that time, that's how it was. It was, they were the dominant culture. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. And, they looked down on the colored man and the African, and they wanted to make sure that they were able to keep them under control. I mean, it's a long history. I mean, the struggle of Black people or African Americans here in America has been I mean, it has been a struggle, and it is still a struggle. Right now, uh, there is a person. His name is uh, uh, Eric Sermon. Eric Sermon told us about uh, a situation as far as music was concerned, where right now you only get 1 penny every time the music gets played on Spotify, on with Apple Music. The artist only gets 1 penny for each song that's played. So in order to get $200, they have to sell what 2,000 or 20,000 records, something like that. 20,000 records. Somebody has to listen to it 20,000 times in order for them to get $200. So here it is. It's best. But what they did was this. Um, they were giving a bigger share of the pie. They were, the Spotify and Apple was giving a bigger share to lure the artists into the platform. So, what they did is they gave them a larger share. So all the artists were um, encouraged to put their music on Spotify, on Apple Music. But then once they got it on there, what they did is they changed the agreement. It's the same thing what happened with Dave Chappelle in his show. Um, uh, Dave Chappelle, he talked about it, but they did the same thing to him. Um, but this is what winds up happening with corporate America. Corporate America, once they see that, you become an attraction on their platform, the next thing you know, they want to control you to that degree. Same thing in Hollywood. It's just all over the place. And so the question becomes, how do you keep your independence? How do you keep your independence? How do you um, wind up, just being able to basically live your life and share your creativity? How do you do that? How do you, just stay independent, share your creativity, and get a fair share of people that work with you? I mean, it's like your artistic work, your efforts should be should be something that you're able to benefit from. That's what it should be. But in American society, what wise, then it might be something that happens all over the world. But I can only talk from American society because this is where I am. But American society is such that, once they lure you in, once you get lured in, boom, then things start to change. I give you some other examples. Um, Credit cards. The average well, interest rates on credit cards is like 30%. 30% interest. That's how they make the money. But they say, well, like at first it was like 10% or something like that. Now it's 30% for most people in America that have a credit card. I'll tell you something else about it. The banks. The banks lured people into keeping their money in the bank. That's what the bank did. And this was back in, well, just say the 50s and 60s, that they were giving a higher percentage rate. Today, there are banks that say you're not going to get any. We're not giving you any money back. You're not gaining no interest. If you want to keep your money in the bank, you can keep your money in the bank, but we ain't going to. And we put our money in the bank. They go ahead and use the money, but they said, well, look, we ain't going to give you no interest. You ain't getting no money. They used to give you a little bit of money. Well, I'm gonna give you 4%, but now it's gotten to the point where it's like 0%. The whole idea is this: once they lure you in, like they put a worm on the hook, and you go for it, and they got you hooked, then they change it up. Give you something else. You drive a car, okay. You paying insurance? I was paying something like $200 a month in New York City for insurance. I stopped driving. You know why? Because they wanted to charge me $700 a month for insurance in New York. The last quote that I got for insurance to drive in New York was $450. And so what they do is well, like you had an act, you had a speeding ticket 2 years ago. 2 years ago? Yeah. Yeah, but I don't even drive that much. But you want me to pay $700 a month? Yeah, $700 a month. But I tell you what, because you haven't driven for 2 years, you can go ahead and pay $400. Oh, but you know what? You have to register your car. You got to register. You got to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles and register your car. Well, how much is that? Well, that's another $300. And now there's cameras all over the place in New York. Oh, yeah, yeah. If you go over 25 miles an hour, you can get a ticket for $25. Oh, they have it in New York where in Manhattan, if you drive below something like 96th Street or something like that, you have to pay $8 every day. I got into a cab on it was on 23rd Street. So I was going from 23rd Street to 34th Street to catch the train because I had, some um uh heavy items that I was carrying. I got in the car. It cost me $25 to go from 23rd Street to 34th Street. And there was an extra $8 charge. And so I said, well, why is there $8 extra charge? Well, because when we drive in New York City, we have to charge the customer an additional $8. Um, because that's what the government has put in place, that you have that every customer has to pay that $8 to drive. It's a lucky thing I had it. It's a lucky thing I had it. They do the same thing now. You go to a hotel, and when you go to their hotel, not only do they give you a charge, but then they got a whole extra money on you in a hotel. The same thing with a car. You go rent a car. You go to rent a car. They got a whole $300 on you, and then they charge you for it. And then if you get a ticket or something like that, that's extra money, extra money, extra money. So people have found a way. These businesses have found extra ways to charge extra money. Last night, I ordered DoorDash because like I just wasn't, I just didn't want to cook or anything like that. So I ordered DoorDash. It was the meal was $18. By the time I got finished with fees and delivery, it was $34. And I usually, and this was the mathematics that I use. Well, what I could do is I could hop into a Uber and go to the place, and that's going to cost me $9. And then in order to get back, it's going to cost me $9. So that's $18. So I may as well just go ahead and pay the $11 fee, and stay home. That was the logic that I used. But the point that I'm making is that there's fees all over the place. This is how once they get you, okay, you don't want to cook your food no more. You don't have to. DoorDash will bring it to you, but you're gonna pay a fee. And we're not even talking about the price of groceries. Right now in New York, they're going up on the fare. In January, they're going on. Right now, it's $2.90 to ride the bus transportation. $2.90. So they're getting ready to go up. It's going to be over $3 one way. So there's this whole idea about staying in control. That's the whole point. Each individual has the responsibility to stay in control of their life. And and once they see that, your life is out of control, you messed up. I used to go to 7-Eleven every morning. I used to go to 7-Eleven. Y'all know about 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven, I used to get the large coffees. This was my logic. I go to 7-Eleven, get the large coffee. It cost me $3.25. Okay, for the large coffee. Then I bring it home, and I would drink it for 2 days. So it's not $3.25 anymore, right? It wind up being, a dollar 65 for each day that I got a cup of coffee. So, that was the logic that I wound up using. But I was going to 7-Eleven to get giving 7-Eleven that money. Why? Because I didn't want to make the coffee. Because I didn't want to go ahead and buy a coffee maker or use instant coffee. I wanted to go ahead and buy the coffee from 7-Eleven because I like the taste kind of thing. I'm drinking coffee right now and it makes my nose itch. Uh, I'm telling. So this is the time that we're living in. And the administration that we live in. We live in this administration. Hold on, Sister Martha. You know this administration that we live in, but there may be some changes coming through on this administration. I was watching um, mainstream media, the news, and I don't know if you ever heard of a person called George Will. George Will is a very well-known uh, news correspondent. And you know what? It was very difficult of me to tell. I First of all, George Will, I haven't seen George Will on mainstream media in years. But last night he pops up. And George Will is telling us about some updated political information that is happening, that's going down as far as this administration is concerned. So I was surprised to see George Will. But you know what? I couldn't tell whether it was the real George Will or an animation of George Will. I couldn't tell. And then there are a couple of other people. There were a couple of other newscasters that's on right now. And I'm looking real close now to see if this is the real person or if this is an animated person that's giving the news. But this is what they're doing. And then you know what they say? If you like this content, please like and subscribe to the channel. So we wind up subscribing to an AI, artificial intelligent mainstream newscast because they're using artificial intelligence to give the image and to report the news. That's what they're capable of doing today. And it's close, and you can look as close as you want. And sometimes you can't even tell. You can't tell the difference. That's how um that's how far the technology has come. So right here on American Muslim 360, we give it to you live. Yeah, we got flaws, it's not 100%, but it's real. We're giving it to you real here on American Muslim 360 on Sister Martha Nala. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam, and thank you. Forgive me if let me know if I'm breaking up. The coffee part, what I found going to 7-Eleven was number one, here in Florida, St. Petersburg specifically, it was $1. You buy the coffee $3, and then the first day, every day after that, you keep the cup and you can use it. You can pay $1 for that same large cup. But at some point in time, that cup is gonna come apart, right? So you had stragglers that would pull the cups out of the bin for those who would throw their cups away immediately, and they would go rinse it out, and they go inside and get that dollar coffee. But it was for fraternization, and so that back to the real, we enjoyed meeting at the counter, making our coffee and fraternizing, not knowing who was there. It's the human relations that were occurring. And last night I was looking at night before last, Christy, the news reporter. And you were right. I was looking at him because at some point it sounded like his voice was recorded, but then I couldn't tell. And like you, I looked really close and I said, okay, I don't know. But I went on and listened to the whole excerpt and then I shut it off. But yes, living in this upload life is bringing about, I don't think we've yet experienced the maximum amount of challenges that it brings with it. Like you say, draw us in, and oh baby, there it is.
Right.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Yeah, and see, there's much that's going on. Uh, but when this guy Elon Musk, when they went into the Social Security place and they took all your Social Security numbers, they took the names, addresses, and all the rest of that. This is what this administration has done. This administration has just, wreaked havoc on the Constitution of the United States, but not only wreaked havoc on the Constitution of the United States, but what this administration has done is he has turned our life upside down. And I'm talking about upside down. It's not, he's taken away the normality. This administration has taken away the normality of our life because we got hooked on living in the American circumstance in a certain way, and then the next thing you know, there's havoc that has been wrecked. He's taken the axe to. They just talked about that they're getting ready to close the J. Edgar Hoover building The FBI building. They're getting ready to close the FBI building. They've also, you see what they've done as far as the White House is concerned. They took a wrecking ball to the White House for a ballroom. They changed the name of buildings and put Trump's name on the building. The Kennedy Center. They've made it the Trump Kennedy Center. His name is not on enough buildings. The selfishness that's involved as far as this administration is concerned is it's a precedent because he's not operating in the same way that past presidents have operated. That's what winds up being the problem for us, that we are used to a president acting a certain way to represent the office of the president, and he's not doing that. This president is not acting in a way that past presidents have acted. Yeah, I mean, it's just not. He's coming there, this president's coming there and made it his own personal playground kind of thing. He's taking over everything and just doing whatever the heck he wants to do. And Congress can't stop him. The Senate can't stop him. The judicial system can't stop him. Or well, I'm not going to say can't, but the Congress is not stopping him. The Senate is not stopping him. The judicial branch is not stopping him. So he's doing whatever the hell he want to do. And you know what? We don't have power to do anything about it. Whatever they put out, we have to, okay. That's all we have, that's all we can say. So it winds up getting to a point where we as individuals have to be able to take control of ourselves. That's what it boils down to. We have to be able to take control of ourselves, and not only take control of ourselves, but take control of, the way that we actually operate in this political environment and this cultural environment, man. We have to, because the way that it's going, as far as this political environment, the way that this cultural environment, as far as the economic environment, you, you can suffer. You can suffer if you don't have more control of yourself. So that's what has happened as far as the Black Policy Playbook, um, for the Congressional Black Caucus, that American Muslim 360 and a New Day Community Radio went down to Washington, D.C. to see. And I'll tell you, they don't show that what we saw down there in Washington, D.C. in August was beautiful. It was beautiful because what we saw, that there are a number of African American people that just the way that if you're supposed to look at their dress, the way that they dress, these weren't people that had their hair was wearing dyed hair, and people that had all this makeup on and a whole bunch of false eyelashes and dressing with tight pants on. These were African American people that were uh, uh, dressed in suits, and I mean their dress was just so dignified and classy. That's the best way for me to what I saw. They will dress as business person, but they will dress classy, and they looked intelligent. They talked intelligent. That's what we saw down there. I mean, there was. I'm just going to say 5,000 people. There was more than that, but I'm just going to say 5,000. There was 5,000 people down there that was in this. I mean, it was just fascinating to see this. And the thing is that it's been going on for years. And we, as a community, wasn't even participating in it or didn't know anything about it. So, so this is what I'm going to be bringing you as far as an overview of moving forward together. Okay, the Black Policy Playbook, and reading you some things from there. So I'm going to just read the introduction to it. This Black Policy Playbook for an Equitable America is designed to provide evidence-based recommendations addressing critical policy issues affecting Black communities across the United States in 2025 and beyond. The, the report was developed by the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation and the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies, focusing primarily on key issues that overlap with our respective organizations' research and policy expertise. We also solicited input from various organizations that share our commitment to improving the conditions of Black communities. Many other signed on in support of the agenda represented in the overview beyond and detailed in the main pages of the report. Now, I'm going to stop right here because I saw many politicians. I'm not only talking about Black politicians. There were a bunch of white politicians that came down there. Um, uh, One of the persons I remember, his name is Kelly. I think his name is Kelly. But this person, I know he was married to a congressperson that had got shot, and it was a woman. She had got shot, but he himself, he was um he was an astronaut, and he was married to this a woman, and she wound up getting shot, and she got paralyzed to that degree. So he wound up running for her office, and he was down there. There were many figures in media that was down there. Don Lemon, I saw Don Lemon down there. He was down there. There's a bunch of people down there, but it was just wonderful to be in that environment and to see that, because you wouldn't see that on mainstream media. You're just not going. You wouldn't see that. So alhamdulillah that American Muslim 360 and a New Day Community Radio had an opportunity to get involved and to participate in that. So it says, we anticipate that this report will serve as a resource for policymakers to collaborate with researchers, advocates, and community organizations in developing solutions that promote equity and justice. Importantly, while this clearly demonstrating that Black people make progress, all Americans benefit. When Black people make progress, all Americans benefit. I mean, this is just the truth be told. Um, but they got this thing, they had this thing of, DEI, that situation. We had the civil rights movement. Let's talk about the civil rights movement. The way that, we fought in the civil rights movement for Black people. We didn't fight in the civil rights movement, for everybody. We fought for Black people to have our rights. The colored man, the colored people. We were different. We were drinking at different water fountains. They didn't want, we lived in a time in America where they didn't want us to drink from the same water fountains that they were drinking from. You had to sit in the back of the bus because they didn't want to sit with you. This is history. The civil rights movement to that degree. But with the civil rights to that degree, what winded up happening is that, the civil rights movement winded up getting a civil rights bill passed that other people took advantage of. That's where you got this thing as far as the LGBTQ took advantage of it. Women and other, well, we want women's rights. because that's under civil rights. We want gay rights. That's under it. We want gender rights. What do you think that comes under? It comes under civil rights in America that we started. As I'm talking, not talking about me, I'm talking about black people, African Americans, colored people, Negroes fought for at the foundation. That's the foundation of the Civil Rights Act. And what happened? Oh, they even went as far as okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna make diversity, equity, and inclusion. So now what we're gonna do? We're gonna put gender bathrooms in the schools. We're gonna put gender. You know, like you can go ahead and change your gender if you want. Oh, I want you to call. I don't want you to call me a he anymore because I decided to change my gender, and now I want you to identify me as a she. Dave Chappelle made a big thing about it. But this was a policy that actually came into America. And and as far as this administration is concerned, this is why this administration said, y'all are going too far with this stuff. As far as this civil rights thing, y'all are going too far with that. We getting rid of DEI. So they wind up getting rid of DEI. But anyway, um, this is what I'm going to be talking about in the future. I'm going to be talking about this because I think because it's important. And one of the prayers that we make, as far as being Muslims is concerned, one of the prayers that we make is a prayer that says, say, Inna Ataina Kalkafa Fasali Li Rabbika Wanha. No, not that one. See, I can't even think right now. But the prayer basically says, "Oh, I here it is. I seek refuge in the lawn of the in the Lord of the dawn from the mischief of created things, from the mischief, from darkness as it overspreads, from those who practice the secret art, and from the envier when he envies. I seek refuge in the Lord of the dawn from the mischief of created things, from darkness as it overspreads, from those who practice the secret arts, and from the envier when he envies." This is a human situation. This is not the first time that this has happened in human history. This is what happens. You know, sometimes it's dark, but the light will be coming again. The light will come again, but you gotta get through the darkness. You gotta get through the darkness. And so that's where I feel that we're at as far as a country. I think that we're in a state of darkness at this time. And you know, there are people that are just basically taking advantage that you know they want to put the people in the dark while they get the light. They're putting the people in the darkness while we get the light. But you got to be able to say, you got to be able to survive the darkness. And the human being is capable of doing that. The human being is capable of surviving that because that's what the human being has done from the beginning of time. The human being has uh, the human being has survived the darkness. So I got a couple of minutes left in the program, and I just want to open up the phone lines to anybody that has anything that they wanted to say. Most of the time, people don't even say nothing, except Sister Martha. Sister Martha goes ahead and says something, but other than that, everybody else just listens. Unbelievable. But you know, Sister Martha, go ahead.
Live. I'm coming in live. William, my son just arrived back home after 40 days being away, and he has pictures where they went to Mecca and Medina, but they went to
Um,
Indonesia, and so
mhm.
he's just returned. And I asked him with his luggage, I go, "Do you think you took enough?" He immediately just came back into the home, and I'm going pictures that I'll be sharing probably on Friday, inshallah. but but just the idea of going and venturing into other lives and lifestyles, and but going with self, understanding of self, and connecting with others, and then using, the technology of planes. But I think did you all use boats?
Yes.
They use boats as well. So,
Lila.
and people in Indonesia where he was located were on mopeds. So
Yes.
that's an upload for them in
Yeah.
that life. Mothers transporting their children on a moped.
Right.
Alhamdulillah. So
Alhamdulillah. Congratulations to your son
his
who
name
congratulations to your
Bilal. Yeah,
son
but
who went to Mecca, Medina. He went and he saw the Kaaba. He saw the Kaaba.
Umrah, they did Umrah.
Allahu Akbar. May Allah continue to bless you, brother. May Allah bless you as you come back and experience the Mecca Medina situation. And may your mother go there one day. So, because, she surely just,
I
and may she go there one day also.
I mean,
That's
and
wonderful.
the thing that he was in the Navy, he experienced Dubai and all of that
Yeah.
prior to that,
Alhamdulillah.
and but their intent was with the Jamaat group going out to for Indonesia to relate to the people,
Yeah.
basically.
It wasn't a vacation. It was a
No.
business trip.
Okay.
To to forward the effort of Dean.
Amen.
Alhamdulillah. So it wasn't to relax and take pictures. Although we did take pictures and get to know the people there, but it was for the pleasure, for the cause of Allah. And to be in a place where it's 95% Muslim, and to see masajid everywhere,
Yes.
women fully dressed in niqab and
Yes.
halal foods. It
Yes.
shows how Islam can work in society. Really what it would look like if it was implemented here. People here are scared when they hear the word Sharia. It's like a cuss word or a buzzword for something about to blow up. You know, um, but there, it's life being lived underneath the banner of Sharia, and
Right.
Alhamdulillah.
inshallah.
And what as your experience, as far as your experience was concerned, uh did I know there were a lot of Muslims from Indonesia there making the pilgrimage, right?
Yes,
I mean, when I was there, I mean, it was so many people from Indonesia there.
yeah, yeah. It was a lot. A huge amount of tour buses. Um, they were in the building during Umrah. They were there.
That. Yeah,
Yeah.
and brother, like I just think that what they do is they redefine here in America, they redefine the word Sharia. They don't have an understanding of it. They
Right,
redefine what we do as Muslims because they're
right.
afraid and they're
Yes.
comfortable in their own skin. They're comfortable killing themselves with alcohol and cigarettes and they don't want to give up that lifestyle to a lifestyle of giving praise and glorification to creator of the heavens and earth. But they're going to have to do it eventually.
Yeah, eventually. Right.
It's inevitable.
It's better that you do believe. You're not. It's what you're losing, or what's missing, and not even that. I'm just gonna say that people are afraid of commitment. And there's a level of commitment made when you say La ilaha illallah, I should do on Muhammad Rasulullah. You're making a commitment to Allah, saying that you're gonna abide by his commandments and live by these commandments. And so for people, men are, a man of their word. When you say you're gonna do something, you're gonna do it. You make a commitment, you're gonna follow through to it. So it's tough for people to make that commitment, especially if you don't believe and the information you're getting about saying la ilaha illallah is something to do with violence and something to do with uh being misogynistic and a womanizer and all of this stuff. It's just a bad, it's a
That's the
bad
picture.
publicity, bad look.
That's the picture that they paint. That's the
Mhm.
picture that they paint as far as being misogynistic, and Muslims are terrorists and all the rest of that. That's the picture they paint, and they
Mhm.
paint it like that because they don't want to lose control of the people. They
Yeah.
don't want to lose control of the people. They don't want to, because when people start to turn Muslim to that degree, you give up smoking cigarettes. You give up drinking alcohol.
It's a, I tell you, it was kind of a shocking thing
Culture shock.
for me because like when you have a whole bunch of people who were once engaged in a whole bunch of stuff, and then they decide to say la ilaha illallah, and they strip all of that stuff, but they still got some stuff in the bag. So
Yeah,
it's a slow crawl
right.
to 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 completely living that life, because cigarettes are everywhere. Like everybody smokes in Indonesia. Everybody smokes. And you know, for some people it was like, oh, this is just blah blah blah. But a lot of people were talking, a lot of brothers would say, hey, you don't come here with that. You don't come here pointing fingers and blaming people about, you get close to Allah and you ask Allah to get them closer to him.
Good point.
And may Allah take that away, you
Good point.
know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I say, having a bag of stuff and emptying that bag slowly but surely to get where you need to get with Allah Azza wa Jalla.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, brother. Thank you so very much for sharing. Appreciate it. Thank you, brother. Thank
But
you for sharing.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, Sister Martha, you kind of frozen right now. You're frozen. Your image is
I
frozen.
was
I
saying
think.
he came back with a head cold, but his heart is full, his mind is full, and his soul is full.
After making
Alhamdulillah.
after making Umrah, of course, that's what's going to happen to a sincere believer.
Yeah.
The sincere believer, if they come back from that journey. Yeah, go ahead, bro. I thought he had something
He
else.
said,
And you feel compelled about it. You feel compelled
To talk about it.
to bring you out of that shyness, to talk about the greatness of love, to talk about, the experience of being in the holy places on earth and around people from every corner of the earth for one particular thing. You can't walk away and not share.
Alhamdulillah. There you go. Yeah, that's beautiful. Congratulations, Sister Martha, on like your son. I know that's a
I
great
need,
achievement for you. That you actually
I
gave
know
birth.
when he left, I know, and when he left, I said, should you, transition while there, I'd be glad to say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un.
I mean,
And should it have happened to me, he said he would love to be the first to say the same thing. So now we understand that this is all serving Allah,
that's what it is.
worshiping Allah.
That's what it is. And the other interesting part that goes with it is, we face the Kaaba every day to make that prayer. When you finally get there and you actually see the Kaaba,
Mm-hmm.
man, that's a great thing. Anyway, so we at the end of the program, sister. So may Allah bless us as we move forward. Thank you so very much for assisting today. And inshallah, I'll see you on a New Day
Alhamdulillah.
Community Radio. All right.
Yes, and that everyone number is 971-379-92 with William Kareem,
919.
executive producer of New Day.
Yes.
971-379-9162.
379-9162. Alhamdulillah. All right. All right. See you then.
Alhamdulillah. At
Assalamu
10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then back here at 1 p.m.
Yes.
for MAP 5.
Map 5. Ooh, looking
Alhamdulillah.
forward to that.